And this is a game that we have honestly, I've been looking forward to this football game a little less now because of what happened last week. But this is a game where we really haven't, in our minds, you and I are on the same page with this, Steve. I know we are. We've talked about it, and it's came up with too often on our
Mhm.
shows. We don't know what the AP sees in Cincinnati, and we keep saying, let's wait until they find it and play a team. And we said UCF, and then we can finally get an idea. And that's what this game is: Cincinnati versus UCF in this football game. Cincinnati's ranked in this one. There's a point in time where we thought that Cincinnati shouldn't deserve to be in that ranking. Right now, I do think they deserve a ranking, but not as high as they are. I'm still really low on this team. I'm just not impressed. If you're a Cincinnati listener, hit us in the comments. Let us know why should I believe in this team? Because I'm sure you do. There's a reason why you think this team is ranked. What am I missing? Like, let me know. I really want to know because I'm having a hard time doing it with this Bearcats team. I know that we've seen them in the past look really good. Obviously we've seen them in the past look really good, but they're in a, we've really thought, and it looked like initially that they were in this kind of rebuilding year. And it's a young group of guys. So what am I missing? Let me know. They take on UCF on ESPN at 3:30. UCF is actually a 1.5 point favorite, 6-1 versus 5-2. I'm looking forward to this football game because I think UCF is a really good team. We saw what they did the other week against Temple, which obviously it's a game against Temple, but what they did was absolutely insane, 70-3. And then they lose pretty embarrassingly against ECU last week. And this is what it kind of took the fun out of this game for me a little bit because, I thought this was going to be a game where 2 6-1s are battling it out. We don't get to see that. This should have been a game where two ranked were playing against each other because it should have been a 6-1 versus 6-1. We didn't get to see that. Cincinnati comes in coming off against a 2-point win against SMU, only a 4-point win against USF, right? This is why, again, I don't really see what is going on with the Cincinnati. Why does AP love them so much? Please let me know. Like, I'm honestly really curious. But in this case, UCF is taking on Cincinnati. They're a 1.5 point favorite. I'm not going to give you my prediction yet, Steve. I want to hear what you have your thoughts.
Okay. Well, I've been rougher on Cincinnati than you have. You've at least tried to
I'm
be
honestly
fair.
just confused. Like, I honestly just don't know what they see in them.
And you talk about the SMU game and the USF game. Cincinnati, and let me, before I say this, I think they're a good. They're not a bad football team. They're a good football team,
Right.
and they're well coached. Fical is a really, really good football coach.
Very good.
And he's had to sort of reimagine this roster on the fly. And I think they are farther along than I thought that they would be.
Okay.
And I do think that there is a pretty dedicated and loyal media base, in the AAC. And I think that drives it too. Because again, I mean, media has votes, coaches have whatever it would be. But I mean, media drives a lot of these polls. And I think that's where Cincinnati's been getting that love because it really is. I mean, it's an experience. It's a knowledgeable crowd that covers the AEC in the various markets. And I think that helps determine that deal. But they keep letting teams back into games. They actually, they're either ahead or they're comfortable at half. They pull ahead in the third quarter. Then the fourth quarter, they just seem to let them back in. And you watch, I've only watched condensed games, but it's not like the defense is wearing down per se. They just let the teams back in. And with an offense that like UCF has, you can't let them do that. I saw that UCF is averaging 506 yards per game. Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually,
Okay,
I have 511. So
wow. Okay, yeah. So I mean that's pretty amazing. You can't have a team, putting up that kind of yardage. You can't give them any kind of chance to get back into a game if they fall behind. I can see Cincinnati jumping out early and maybe forcing UCF to do things. But if you're putting up that kind of yardage, I mean, yeah, okay, yes, it was Temple, but they still put up 70 points. I mean, it's not as easy as you would think. It's been an up and down year in a lot of ways for UCF. I think they haven't played as well as perhaps they thought they should. And on paper, I think they could be a better team than they've shown. But again, it's 500 yards per game.
Right.
That's a matchup problem against anybody. I don't care who you're playing. If you're playing a top 25 team or a top 10 team, if you're averaging 500 yards, the odds are you're going to get 300 and some odd yards against better competition. That's still enough to win you a football game.
Gus obviously is going to take care of the adjustments in that football game that happened against ECU last week. If he does that and we basically push that one aside, you can assume that that's going to happen. You're going to come back to that UCF team that we've seen in weeks past. Putting that in comparison, UCF beat SMU 41-19. Cincinnati only beat SMU last week by 2. If you want to just put that in comparison, right? Is it fair? Now, this is a tough question here. Is it fair that the writers, the AP, are giving Cincinnati a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because they made the college football playoff last year and because they're only a one-loss football team right now? That why they're getting the rankings a little higher than maybe some others in the poll. Not saying you might agree with it, but is it fair that that may be the case?
Well, I've been saying this all year long with a lot of different teams. And one of the things we're going to talk about tonight, we have had discussions about whether their ranking is too high or not.
Right.
But it's just the nature of the polls, I think. But I will always call out some sports writers who are just lazy and just fill in whatever name was on their ballot the last week and only make adjustments for teams that had big wins or big losses or whatever. This isn't even the 2000s. Okay. I mean, the information age, you have everything at your disposal. So there's no reason that you can't take an extra 10 or 15 minutes and look at every team that was in last week's poll and then see, are there teams that have earned their way in, like a Tulane, for example? And are there teams that really haven't lived up to the billing that need to either be dropped down or dropped out? So that's where, for me, I get upset because I don't think there's enough work being put in considering the amount of information at the disposal of coaches and player and media and whatever. That part bothers me.
Very fair point. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comments, wherever you're listening, what's going on with Cincinnati. What are we missing? If we are missing something, or maybe you agree with us, maybe you on the same page with us. That happens a time or two sometimes. But with this side, I'm not going to give a prediction in this one. I know it's wild. Usually we give a prediction every time at 5 for Friday. This is why, Steve, because I want to make this a topic, win or lose for Cincinnati on Monday. I want to come back to this conversation on Monday so we can say, what do we feel about Cincinnati now? Now that they finally played the team that we've been talking about, UCF, a team in their division who we've known is going to be a pretty tough task for them. After they played them, are they a for real team or not? Should we start giving them the credit they deserve, being in the top 20? Obviously, they're only going to move up if they win. Right now, they're ranked 20th in the nation. They're not going to get any lower. If they lose, they're probably not going to be ranked. So that conversation will probably go a little differently. But we will return to this conversation when we talk on Monday mornings. That is topic. I've already put it in black and white in pen. There's that click. It's going to be something to pay attention to. So that's why I'm not putting a prediction in. I don't know.
I am.
Put one? Okay, good. Let's hear it.
UCF.
Okay.
I have UCF, and I think UCF wins by a touchdown.
So you initially, right off the bat, before we even dig into Monday, you're initially saying that we're going to have this conversation, and we're going to say this is why we had all these question marks about Cincinnati.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. It's, again, the fact that they're letting teams back into games after getting up on them late. That concerns me. Both teams have been inconsistent, so I don't want to even think about doing the over-under on this game.
Right. No, good call.
But UCF, I think if their quarterback
Plumlee,
right? I'm sorry, Plumlee. If he has one of his consistent up games, and I think he's due for one, I think that's the difference, and I think UCF wins by a touchdown.
Fair. Okay. I'm looking forward to having this conversation on Monday. Hopefully we get some comments from you all as well, and we can share them on the clip as well on Monday, because really this is a conversation that I would strongly use the word dumbfounded, because I honestly just do not understand why Cincinnati's there. I want to know what I'm missing. I really do.